This is just going to be a short demonstration of the effects I created in my previous video about pixelation and palletization to resemble retro games. So right now we don't have any color, but now we have the Atari 800. This is based on the 256 default colors of the Atari 800. Technically you could only use 16 at a time, but you could create your own colors if you wanted. This would be the 64 colors typical of mid-80s PCs. Once again, on the real systems, you could only pick 16 colors and you could not create your own. This is based on what I'm told was the original palette of the original Nintendo Entertainment System. Don't know much about that one. This is the classic Doom palette. And if you notice, the water is really, really bright blue because it has that color from Tech Rooms. The Hex and Beyond Heretic palette, we've seen that one before. Here is what's supposed to be the original Daggerfall palette, and a new darker palette created for Daggerfall Unity. A combination of both Daggerfalls, and just for fun, both Daggerfalls plus Hexen, and a sort of fantasy super palette. And then lastly, I have a couple palettes, very closely related palettes that I created on my own for other purposes. So you can kind of see how this video is affected by the palettes. Now, as far as dark areas, here we have a dimly lit area. There is some light attached to the camera, and as well as light coming through. But it's a dim scene, but you can see. However, once you put on the palletization effect, everything becomes much darker. I'm not sure quite why that is. It doesn't happen when you just modify an image, but with the shader it does. And so here we have with toon shading, which is how it really should be done for obvious reasons. Now for demonstration, what I'm going to do is change the toon shading on these goblins. And by the way, I put in some third-party monsters just to show a few more things. If you put on the standard realistically lit PBR type shaders, all of a sudden they become completely black unless I walk up to them with the light attached to the camera. And obviously in that dark room they'd be basically invisible. So this is why, one reason that for these kind of retro effects you need to have more like a toon shader, and it just looks more retro. It is true that, say, Doom Engine games did have an area-based lighting effect that could darken, but it was very different from modern lighting. And unfortunately, I don't have a way right now to duplicate that. But there is a creature a model I used as a Hellhound in Caverns of Evil. This was an imp in Caverns of Evil, a winged imp. And last but not least, here on top of the tower, guarding some treasure, we have a dragon. So I threw in these monsters just to show a little more of what you might have with, say, animated models using these textures. And just because we can, let's throw on that Fantasy 768 palette that combines Hexen and different Daggerfall versions. This makes things a bit more washed out, maybe, but a bit less distorted. And you could look at pros and cons to that. But anyway, that's basically all I had for this. If you're interested in how this was done and haven't seen the previous video, watch my previous video and I'll show you how these effects were created. Thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye.